Hello everybody out there in the bookverse, it's Stephanie, and today I am back with my third book battle. And this time the theme around the books that I am reading for this book battle is final books in series. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you'd like to see more from me, definitely hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post new content. Let's jump into these books. I think I picked some pretty good ones. For the most part, I really liked the books that I read for this book battle, and I'm really excited to talk about them. Okay, so the first book that I read was Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the second book in the Strange the Dreamer duology, so the final book in that duology, and I honestly really enjoyed this book. I thought it was so good. It was really well done. The first half of it was kind of slow. It kind of drug on a little bit. Nothing really was happening with the plot. There was a lot of character development going on, and a lot of time was spent just kind of figuring out what they were going to do rather than actually doing anything because they were kind of stuck. They couldn't do things. So it felt a little bit stagnant for a little while, but I did enjoy the character development that went on during that time. I really love the characters in this book, and I think a lot of them change and grow a lot throughout this duology, and I really enjoyed learning more about them in this book. I like their backstories and getting to know a lot more about a lot of the characters, not just our main ones, but some of the side ones that you might be kind of interested in, and learning about where people came from and how things happened, because in the first one we didn't really learn everything about stuff. Not everything was answered, and even in this one not everything is answered, but we do learn a lot more about people's pasts, where they came from and all those types of things. So I thought that that was a really cool thing that went on in this book. I liked the side story that went on as well. I felt like it was really intriguing to kind of jump into that kind of backstory, side story as well, because it was really interesting. You didn't really know what was going on and how that was going to connect throughout the book, but when you did figure it out, it was really cool, and it added a lot to the book, and it added a lot to the past of these characters. Honestly, the end was really great for me as well. I liked the ending of the book. I thought that it wasn't too perfect, but a lot of things were still good. It was still a good ending, but it wasn't everything tied up with a bow and amazing. I loved the tie-in that this book had with her other series, this Daughter of Smoke and Bones trilogy. It was kind of subtly done, but also is pretty obvious if you've read the other trilogy, so I liked that a lot. That was really cool for me. I love when little Easter eggs are hidden into books and they're not a huge part of them, but they're still in there, and it's just really fun and enjoyable for me. So I loved my time with this book. I think this was a great start to this book battle, and I was really excited about it. It was a good time. The next book that I read for this book battle was The Raven King, which is the fourth and final book in the Raven cycle, which the first one is The Raven Boys. I was fairly disappointed in this book, actually. I think the series kind of was a hit and miss for me. The first book I absolutely loved and gave 5 stars. The second one was still good, but it was a little bit less. The third book I loved. Again, it was amazing. And then this book, again, for me was a little bit of a miss. So, I don't know, it was a great series overall, and I absolutely loved it, but it wasn't to the point where it's in my new favorite series section. I think the characters had so much potential, and they just fell a little flat in this book. I didn't enjoy some of the changes that came to some of the characters. I didn't love Blue as much in this book, and I didn't love Gansey as much in this book. I didn't like some of the things that their stories were doing, so that kind of was a little disappointing for me. One of the other side characters that I had a lot of high hopes for coming out of the third book was such a dud. If you've read this, I am guessing you know who I mean, because this person had so much potential to be such an amazing character, and then they weren't. They were really lame, and they were just hiding all the time, and it was kind of unfortunate. I did not like that, but I guess not all the characters can be awesome. There was one new character that was added in this book that I loved. I thought he was so awesome, and I really wish that we would have gotten more of him. He was such an interesting character, and he was so much fun, and I really wanted to just have more with him in it. I know that there's another series that came out that kind of follows Ronan, so I'd be like, that'd be kind of cool if they would add him in there, but I doubt it because he wasn't really as attached to Ronan as some of the other characters. I wasn't a huge fan of the romances that were going on in this book. The main romance of this whole series, I just wasn't as big of a fan of after kind of the third book. I think it started to kind of change a little bit, and I didn't love it quite as much as I was starting to love it in the first and second books. I think mostly because I was starting to not love the characters as much. They'd kind of dulled out for me. One of the newer romances in this book, I want those characters to find someone. I just don't think they're great for each other, in my opinion. I didn't see it. But that is just my opinion and what I think about it. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people disagree about it because they love the characters. I didn't think the ending was very satisfying, the resolution to it. I just thought that throughout this story it seemed such high stakes, and then everything just kind of ended with a little less sacrifice, I guess, than I was expecting. I just didn't really enjoy the way that it ended, in my opinion. I feel like since it's the end of the whole series, I can't say anything, otherwise it'll be spoilers. I did still really enjoy the atmosphere to this book. I think that's one thing that the series has done extremely well, is that it has an amazing atmosphere, and you just kind of feel this whole magic that is going on, and it's just there. You can just feel that you're in this world, and it draws you in, and you really can picture everything. And I think that is the most amazing thing about this story for me, is the atmosphere and setting of it. It's just beautiful. There were some pretty cool plot developments as well. There were some cool things that happened in here that I wasn't expecting and that were really interesting and kind of intrigued me and made me want to know more. But overall, I wasn't quite as happy with this book as I was hoping to be, unfortunately. But I still did really like it. I just had such high hopes for it. So that being said, between Muse of Nightmares and The Raven King, I am going to have to give this one to Muse of Nightmares. I think it finished out its series a bit better than The Raven King did for the Raven Cycle. And the next pairing is, my sister is probably going to be a little upset with me for doing this because she thinks it's unfair to put Brandon Sanderson books against any other books, which, okay, that's fair. But my next pairing is going to be Muse of Nightmares against The Hero of Ages. So The Hero of Ages is the third and final book in the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, the first one being The Final Empire. I am in love with this series. I think it is one of the best series that I have ever read. It's definitely made its way into my favorites of all time. This book was amazing. It blew my mind. I just wanted to continue reading the entire time. I never wanted to put it down. It was just so fun, so intriguing. The plot twists, the character development, the changes in just, you learn so much more about the magic system and the backstories to all these characters and all these creatures, and you learn more about the world and how everything came to be the way that it is and how there's so much importance in it, and just little things that came up before in the book that ended up being important later, and I just loved it. Some of these characters were just so much more fascinating than I thought they were going to be, and a lot of the things that I didn't know were going to be as important became really focuses during this book, and I liked that. I like to kind of learn things and get to know a world, and then to dive into kind of more behind it and more of how everything works and how everything is going to be coming together in this world to make it all be the way it is. I think that Brandon Sanderson did an amazing job of explaining things while also leaving a little bit of things ambiguous. There were a couple characters that you come to know in this book that I would have loved to learn more about their backstories and how their character arc began and those types of things. And I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't learn more than we did. I get it though, like you can't know everything and it's just kind of the way that these stories go, but I would have absolutely loved to have a little bit more about them. I thought the ending was perfect. I don't think I would have changed anything about the ending to this book. I thought it was really, really well done. I have just a favorite character throughout this whole series and I love him so much, and I am just so glad with how his story was treated within this book as well. I almost can't say enough good about this, gonna be honest. It was almost perfect for me, but I mean, no book's perfect, but this is pretty close. So I don't think we really need to say it, but between Muse of Nightmares and Hero of Ages, I pick the Hero of Ages to be the winner of that portion of our book battle. Moving on, we're going to have the Hero of Ages going up against The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This book, I know you've probably heard a lot about it already, but it's fairly short. It is the conclusion to her Folk of the Air trilogy, the first one being The Cruel Prince, and this is just really a letdown. I didn't really enjoy that whole series to begin with, and this one still let me down, which is kind of saying something. There wasn't enough time for real plot development and no kind of character growth. I feel like she tried to change the stories of some of these characters and make them from being such bad people so we like them a little bit more. I didn't really feel it. It was too rushed. I didn't have enough time to become invested in these things to really care about any of the twists because there wasn't enough time put into them for me to even start making conjectures and things, except for a few things that were pretty obvious and I guessed were gonna happen. Like, I definitely guessed how it was gonna end. I knew that that was, I mean, not the exact things, but the general resolution to the big, huge problem at the end. It felt like it was really obvious. The romance in it did not do it for me. It hasn't throughout the whole series. I didn't really love our main love interest. I kind of liked her sister's romance, her older sisters. That one I was kind of there for. That one was pretty good, but honestly, overall, definitely a letdown of a book. I'm very surprised that I even finished this series, honestly. I think I did it mostly because I was adding this one to my final books in series book battle. I really don't even remember that much about it. It is not even memorable enough for me to be telling you about it this recently after I read it, so I feel like that says something about it. So I don't think I really need to tell you guys. I'm sure you've guessed, and I'm sure you guessed as soon as I held it up, but the winner of this book battle is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This was such a great conclusion to the series. I feel like this is how final books in a series should be done. So that is it for my third book battle that I have done. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more from me, definitely hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.